everyone to week 12 of the Gut versus the Geek. I am Brad Reimer, the Geek, and sadly, my cohort in crime here, the Gut, is sick, so I'm going to fill in and just do the show solo, so let's get it started. To kick off the show, each week, the Gut and the Geek provide you with the following table. This table outlines what the Fantasy Llama algorithm did, projections versus actual performances, starting with QB1 all the way down each depth spot to defense special teams. Well, week 11, everything but QB1 and RB1 was great. QB1, look, Tolzien at Green Bay. RB1, Rashad Jennings. Ben Tate at Houston. It's just now there's so much influx that how can it be right? But still, only 5 points on average. That's not bad. Still going to get you wins. Thanks, Llama. As I think I mention each week, I play and participate in weekly fantasy football. How is that different? Well, in standard fantasy football, you compete head-to-head, and you have a rolling record and standings versus other people in your league. Well, in this, you just literally start one week and it ends in that week. The winner has the most points. Each week, the Llama tracks how it fares against the competitors in this arena by putting the top 5 suggested starters against each other, and those, obviously at the end of the day with the highest points, win. The X marks the categories, showing the winners per site. With that said, the Gut and the Geek, and especially the Llama, has helped me win weekly leagues multiple times last week and over this season. So check it out. But let's jump in now. Let's hear who the Llama had picked and who the Gut had picked for week 12. So starting with QB, the Llama went with Eli Manning, and that makes a lot of sense. In New York this week against Dallas, it's going to be a big game for Eli. And since the Gut can't be here and he's a Bear fan, I brought Bearlacker. Bearlacker and the Gut picked Cam Newton. I went with Peyton Manning in New England. The Llama went with Frank Gore this week at running back against the Washington Redskins. The Gut went with Knowshon Moreno up at New England. And I am going with Zach Stacy against the Chicago Bears. All of the defenses that these running backs are going against give up a lot of rushing yards to opposing RBs. The Llama went with Greg Jennings this week at wide receiver up there in Green Bay. That algorithm must account for also playing against former teams. The Gut went with Des Bryant in New York, high-scoring game, and I'm going with Kendall Wright against the Oakland Raiders, who just lost another defensive back. The Llama went with Kobe Fleener against the Cardinals, who give up the most points to tight ends this year. The Gut went with Vernon Davis against the Washington Redskins. I think that's a great pick. I'm actually going with Jared Cook against the Bears. Outside of Tavon Austin, the only person he can throw to is Jared Cook. We all know the Gut would say something about the kicker and how it doesn't matter. I'm going to say the kicker has won me multiple weeks. But he went with this week Graham Gano, and he probably just picked it out of a hat. I'm going with Kai Forbath. Washington at home. It's going to be a closer game than many people think. Kai Forbath. The Llama in the shock pick of the season for defense special team went with the Jacksonville Jaguars against Houston at Houston, who's lost 8 in a row. Could be a sneaky pick. The Gut went with the Detroit Lions, which little does he know, that's going to be a shootout. And I went with the Baltimore Ravens against the Jets, who give up the third most against defense. I'm surprised the Gut is not calling in right now to at least do his favorite section, the Llama Locks, the top 3 to win each week. And if you don't recall, the Llama on the website picked 13 of the 15 games correct. That's amazing. Check it this week. In any event, let's just get to the picks. Detroit over Tampa Bay. Oh, this is going to be a big game for Stafford and Calvin Johnson. Carolina over Miami at Miami. Carolina's defense is way too tough for a struggling Miami offensive line. And lastly, Denver over New England. Manning versus Brady. And in my favorite section, the cover dogs, where the Llama picks the underdogs who are going to beat the spread, beat the odds. And this week it starts with the Steelers at the Browns. The Steelers are probably going to win this. And actually the Jaguars at the Texans to pick up that plus 10. They're definitely going to make it a closer game. Well, that draws an end to a short episode this week, but I want to thank you all for listening. Bearlacker, thanks for sitting in for the Gut while he's sick. I know he appreciates it. I'm the Geek, Brad Reimer. Good luck in Week 12 and all your competitions, your fantasy lineups, etc. I'm out. Peace.